So in this video, we're going to be looking at coursework design, specifically looking at screen mockups and screen design. Now, before you get to this stage, it's really important that you have a really clear set of features that you're going to be implementing. So if your analysis is not clear, if you've not done really good analysis, this will be much harder and will make less sense. Also, it makes sense to do decomposition at this point so you know how all the different parts are going to play out and that kind of thing. Now, let's dive into So let's dive into it. Now, before we start talking about design properly, I want to talk to you about prototypes. Now, you are going to take an iterative approach to actually producing your own program, and the first prototype is going to implement a certain set of features. It will last around about 4 weeks, so it's not going to be a massive set of features, but it will be a few core ones you need to get done before you can do the rest of the project. And again, that's one of the reasons why your decomposition is so important at this stage, because you can decide, okay, well, this is how I'm going to break it up. This must be done before I'm going to do anything else. Therefore, that's my prototype one. So it helps you identify the key or core aspects of your application so you can actually do this. When it comes into design, you've got two choices again. The first choice is design absolutely everything up front. Now, for applications where there's only a few screens or even just maybe one screen or like a game, for example, it makes sense to do a lot of the screen design up front. If you're doing something where there's lots of different screens, it may make more sense to do it screen by screen. Now, it's absolutely up to you how you do this. One student I've had in the past, or quite a few students actually, have done their design up front, and then maybe in prototype 2 decided, you know what, I'm going to change this, or I'm going to move this, I'm going to do some alterations, and then they can document those changes in their prototype 2. Okay, so that might be the preferred approach for you guys. So long and short of it, you don't have to design the entire thing up front. Okay, you design what you need for prototype 1, but if you do design up front, it's absolutely okay to change it. Okay, so that's the kind of key bit to think about. So for each prototype, you're going to create screen designs, including validation and justifications, and you're going to design your algorithms needed for each prototype. Now, the first one, you might decide to do all your designs up front. You also might decide to do all your algorithms up front. Now, that one I think is a little bit more shaky to try and do up front, purely because a lot of people find algorithm design really hard to do, especially before they actually come to code things. I would suggest you just focus on the algorithms for your first prototype only, get used to it, get the idea of what you have to do, and then once you've actually coded prototype 1, hopefully the algorithms for prototype 2 and 3 will become just a bit easier for you to actually do. That is a suggestion. You can do all up front if you want to. That is completely up to you. So to get your screen mock-up going, you need to have a subsection for every screen. Now, if you've got 4 screens, 4 subsections. The reason for that is because it's easier to kind of link between them. If you need to refer back to one of those screens, it's easier for me as a marker to actually go through and actually find those screens. And it just looks better, okay? Looks more well organized. And if your coursework looks organized and it reads organized, you're most likely going to have all the information in it, and the moderator will most likely give you the marks for it. Long and short of it, that isn't necessarily always the case, but a well organized piece of coursework probably suggests that it's a well organized person writing it. Anyway, validation becomes really important. So you do your screen design, and then underneath it, you'll write down any validation you have. Validation is essentially checking the input. So when you type something in on the screen, you click a button, you do a drag, you move a character across the screen. What validation must be there to make sure they do what they're supposed to do? The validation is really important in design, mainly because I can then look at the validation you put in your screen designs, check your code to see if it's there. Okay, so if you think about it, I have to check your code when I'm marking your code to look for validation, but if I don't know what I'm looking for, it becomes very hard to spot it and I might miss it easily. So we must flag validation wherever possible. So that's the reason why it's important to put it in here. Finally, and where a lot of the marks go, and the hardest part about this is justifying your choices. So if you're the kind of person that will kind of scrabble together a quick design and say that'll do, well, I'm sorry, you're not going to get the marks. This has to be well thought out. Okay, you need to put your kind of UX design hat on. Not that I have a hat at the moment. Maybe I need one to cover this, but anyway. So you need to put your UX design hat on and really make a choice about why you've done something the way you've done it. So why have you laid it out like that? Why have you chosen that font? Why have you chosen those colors? You do have to justify absolutely everything in your design. The more you justify, the higher the marks on that section go. Okay, your justifications need to be focusing in around the learnability of it, so how easy to learn things. So if it's really obvious, if it's got good help systems, if it's kind of like consistent with other applications of a similar genre, you know, that would be a learnable experience. How efficient is it? You know, to play your game, do I press one button or do I have to type in a million and one things before I can get there? How efficient is it to do the key things? And how clear is it? How obvious, how much clarity is there in actually using your application? So those are the kind of things you need to consider as well. The other thing I'll put on that list is think about your stakeholders. What kind of user are they? Are they experienced users? If they're experienced users, then you could probably get away with a more complex UI. If they are beginners, if they're novices, or they're younger people, then, or even older people, I don't know, then you probably are going to have something that's a much more simple and much higher learnability. Now, another little thing is if you're doing a prototype, you might find that prototype 1 has no user interface. That's fine. Then you skip this bit out and do it in prototype 2. That's absolutely okay. Just bear in mind, without a GUI, you don't get the marks. Okay, so you must include it at some point, but does not have to be in prototype 1. So here's an example. Now, please don't think that I'm the master at graphics design, because I really am not. This is not my strong point. However, I am good at justifying what I do, even if it does look a bit naff. So here's a flashcard system. So imagine this is a flashcard, and I've got a thumbs up, thumbs down to say whether, actually, see, I'm mirrored here, aren't I? So there you go. It's to say that thumbs up, I learned it well, I understand it, I remembered it. Thumbs down to say I didn't. Okay, then I've got some statistics at the bottom. So what I've done is I've designed it, I've thought about what should be included on there, I've kept it minimalist, okay, I made it clear, so I'm thinking about my clarity, but now I need to justify why I've done that. So I've created a good design, I'm happy with my design, here's my justification. The screen layout is designed to ensure that the system is learnable quickly. Ranking is done through thumbs up, thumbs down, which is similar to other ranking apps on the internet. So I've thought about how other things do it. For example, Facebook's got that thumbs up, thumbs down. I'm fully aware that it also has little other emojis, but that's not relevant to this. You know, why would you put I love this flashcard? That makes no sense, does it? Maybe it does, I don't know. Maybe I'm just weird. There's universal familiarity with this approach, and also the text is Arial, so it's dyslexia friendly. And large enough font to be read quickly. Now, I thought about how usable is this as well. So if I've got a flashcard and the text is absolutely teeny weeny on my mobile phone, I'm going to struggle to read it, aren't I? Okay, my eyesight isn't the best. That's one reason I need glasses. So I want a nice big font like I've got on the screen here. The use of beige as card color helps dyslexic students. So again, I'm thinking about my audience. This is aimed at students, and there's a number of dyslexic students. Now, one of the tips that our SEN coordinator at school gives us is if it's good for SEN, it's good for everyone. Okay, so beige is a nice neutral color to have as a background. It's a bit easier to read from than white is. The cards are short, so they can be displayed without scrolling and read quickly, so I don't want any scrolling on the screen because that will look bad. The stats will be visible to give indication if this card has been learning or has learned or not. And my English there is terrible, sorry about that. The emoji will change as the ratio changes to give the user quick feedback on their progress as well. So I've got justification of why I've done each and every part. Even though it might look obvious that that's a nice layout and that should work, I've said my reasons why. That's what we're looking for, is that justification of every single thing you've done it. What color you use, fonts, the layouts, the reason why you've gone for that design in the first place. You must give us reasons for it. So if you do make changes in design in future prototypes, then that is absolutely fine. Just tell us why. Okay, so if you make a change for your screen design, just say the reason why. Was it user feedback? Was it too difficult to code it? Did it just not work when you actually implement it? What was the reason? Give us a justification of design change that meets the requirements. And it's absolutely fine to make changes, by the way. So the final bit of this, the screen markup has to be of every single screen you prototype. Please do not have any screens in your final product that you've not designed, because that means you haven't given a thorough design of the system and you lose marks. Describe all the key features of the page, including functionality of your buttons. So tell me what the buttons do, tell me what the sliders do. You just basically explain what's going on the screen. Explain any validation that's done there, and most importantly, justify design choices related to usability. So the phrase really is describe, justify choices made, the usability features to be included in the solution. Okay, so that's how you get high marks in this section.